Yo guys, welcome back on the channel. Today we gotta discuss the historic news that the council of the city of Milano has approved the sale of the San Siro Stadium to Inter and Milan. What does it mean? What does it mean for the future of the two clubs, for the San Siro Stadium itself? That's what we'll discuss in today's video. It is a bit of a complex topic, so I'm going to be jumping from different tabs that I've opened up on my laptop here. So try to keep up, and I hope I do a good job of explaining the whole situation to you guys. So before we get into it, make sure you leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I've got my finance bro half zip polo on, so you know I mean business. But jokes aside, let's get into it. So, a few days back, the city council of Milano, they got together because there was a deadline on the voting of this whole situation. And they literally got together on the night of the deadline, as if you're a uni student cramming in last minute for your exam or for an assignment. And look at that, at 3:40, this is not PM, 3:40 a.m. So they were there for over 12 hours in this meeting, marathon meeting. And at the end of this meeting, they finally got 24 votes in favor of the sale and 20 against the sale, with two non-participants. So you saw it wasn't easy, and it hasn't been easy this ride all the way through, because of many different issues in terms of the heritage of the San Siro, the actual building, what it represents as almost an art piece or a historic piece to not just Milano, but to Italy or to the world. Environmental things, local things, the people that live around the area, what they have a big say in what happens, of course. But ultimately now the sale of the building, the area is been approved. So the sale is agreed to be around the 197 million euro mark. So that will mean that Inter will now own the stadium, and Milan, unfortunately, co-own the stadium and the site, which allows them to finally move forward with the plans for a brand new arena. What happens next? So as I said in my last few videos, people have been asking me like, are you going to make a video on this? To me, this is all 1% progress. Now they need to put their money where their mouth is, the clubs, I mean, Milan and Inter, because they've been doing some pump fakes, some little, I don't know, poker moves to say like, oh yeah, Milan said we're going to buy an area in San Donato, which actually I think they actually did buy some area in San Donato. We're going to build a stadium there. Inter said, oh, we're going to go to Rozzano, build a stadium there, because the Milan, the San Siro, this is not going to happen. But none of those things have happened. So clearly both teams wanted this to happen, but now they have to finalize this purchase. So they have to put their money, they have to invest, put the money down by November 10th, because if the deal isn't closed by then, heritage laws will kick in to San Siro's second tier. So this is what we mean by the importance of it in terms of the building and as an art piece almost. Because after this heritage law by November 10th, if isn't bought out by these two clubs, then it becomes a heritage site, from what I understand, or the second tier of San Siro becomes a heritage site. So making demolition extremely difficult or even impossible. So then of course between then, more paperwork, more agreements, more red tape, more bureaucracy involved, and conditions required by the city, like environmental projects, accessibility guarantees, business transparency, which is something that the Milan mayor Sala was actually an Inter fan, funnily, but he's not been actually very useful in this whole saga over the last decade or so. He used to fire shots about Inter being owned by Suning, Zhang, of course. He was right for being like, how solvent is this guy? How reliable is this guy? As we saw in the end, not that much. But in the end, it was taken over by a company that was anyway very, strong. So that didn't really matter. But, those things that will be sorted. Then, few people are asking me, when will San Siro be demolished? I even saw one of my friends on Instagram, Mo. He posted on his Instagram story like, oh man, I never got to visit San Siro. What a shame. I was like, bro, don't worry, you have plenty of time at the moment. By most estimations, this our current San Siro, the Meazza Stadium, will be up at least up until 2030. It has to be up until at least until 2026 anyway, but that's regardless because it will stay up for a few years anyway because it won't be demolished. So next year, the Winter Olympics will be held there. So there's no way it can be demolished before then. The demolition will happen in phases after the new stadium is ready. So the stadium is actually not going to be built on top of or instead of the current Meazza Stadium. It's going to be built on this beside it. There's empty space right now, which is what Inter and Milan are purchasing alongside the current space. So that's where it will be built. The current stadium will stay, and then the demolition will start happening in phases after the new stadium is ready. So there won't be a moment where the clubs are left without a home. And a small preserved portion of San Siro, about 10%, will remain as a monument or repurposed space. What that will be, we'll have to see, because at the moment we don't have the designs and the latest kind of architect vision for the space. There were some in the past, which I'm going to bring up, but at the moment we're waiting for what this new version will be. And yeah, so the new stadium, of course, this is again estimates and of course probably positive estimates. Construction is expected to begin in 2027, so not next year, the year after. And the target is for the new stadium to be finished around 2030, 2031. And I've seen many stadiums built over the last few years, and this is not even just about Italy, but all around Europe. They usually always miss the target. It's always underestimated. The costs are always underestimated. The timeline's always underestimated. If it is built by 2030, I will be shocked. 2031, I would be surprised. 2032, then I would be, that sounds more realistic to me. So again, to me, the current San Siro Meazza will be in place for quite a few years, so don't panic yet. The design at the moment, from various reports, is going to be about 71,000 seats, 2 tiers instead of 3 tier, an oval shape, not a square or rectangular shape as the current Meazza Stadium is, a fixed roof, so not a retractable roof, modern facilities, shops, restaurant, and public spaces. Some of you are also asking, or in the past have asked, why can't we just stay at San Siro? And I know that is definitely, I think, an option that a lot of us would like, because if we're going to share a stadium, might as well keep it to the historic, current, amazing stadium that we have, right? But the issue is this stadium, guys, it's not fit for purpose anymore. As much as I love it, as much as we love it, it's not meeting modern stadium criterion in terms of, what it has inside, and also in terms of health and safety and future requirements. So the stadium has already failed UEFA requirements, so they bid for the 2027 Champions League final to be held at San Siro, but it can't no longer compete with those elite stadiums for that. And then also Italy, in the Euro 2032 bid, they've also included San Siro in that, but also because of this lack of facilities and requirements, it's probably going to be omitted from that bid anyway. So it's just not fit for purpose. There's certain areas of it where you might see there's sometimes even if it's a full stadium, there's bits of it where people are not allowed to sit because the vibrations, or if there's too many people in certain areas, it's actually a health and safety risk. Like there's been talks and news about the vibration issues, or like certain issues that structurally San Siro has. Is an old stadium. Let me move slightly on to why it's important for Inter and Milan to have the stadium. So shouts out to @Sir Fi or Bernhard on Twitter. Fantastic source of financial Inter news. And he breaks it down exactly in terms of his estimates. Very good estimates, I would assume, because he is an expert in these things, of what it means, the new stadium. And he assumes that Inter will get another 50 million capital injection from Oak Tree for the stadium this and next season. So total project financing needs per club. So in total, for both Milan and Inter, will be around 1.3 billion. Some people say also 1.5 billion. But going off Bernhard's estimates, per club, you need about 650 million euros, which won't come directly from Inter. It will be financed. We'll get into that news in a moment. And these are the costs broken down by Bernhard. So the acquisition, like we talked about, 197 million euros, so 98.5 for Inter. Construction, surrounding area, maintenance, multifunctional area, surrounding area, the old stadium, power station, deconstruction, blah, 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 all those kind of things. He's also assuming some government funding, tax incentives, maybe. That would be nice. Assumed equity injection from clubs owners. So that's the one that he was talking about. Oak Tree will have to pump something in. But then there's also the benefits of the new stadium, naming rights. So again, I think he's probably this is just just general estimates, so don't hold him to it, but 10 million per club on naming rights. The I don't know, Nike Arena, the I don't know, the Lenovo, Microsoft Arena, whatever. Concerts, stadiums, tours, store sales, another 10 million. Parking, drinks, food, snacks, which is something that will be improved in terms of facilities with the new one. Better facilities, 10.5 million. Price increases, which is, of course, not great news for the locals and other, already Inter fans in the local Italian Inter fans are complaining about the ticket prices. Assuming another €5 ticket increase per 50 games at 60k attendance, that's an extra 7.5 million euros per club. So that's one of the big reasons that we want the stadium, that we need the stadium. And of course, the big one for Inter is these corporate hospitalities, all these companies that buy the corporate boxes and host to their clients and all these types of things. This is where the big money is at. 25 million per club. Rent for Meazza, which is gone already after the sale. So I think, is he assuming that this is maybe he's putting this as a positive, but it's something that we had to pay in the past. So this is a 5 million. I could be wrong here, but I'm guessing this is the 5 million that we have to pay every year per club to rent the Meazza. And then he's also actually put higher costs as well in terms of the whole energy, events, personnel, blah, blah, blah. That's minus 10 million. But regardless of all that, that's a 58 million possible positive extra revenue that can be generated by this club, by the stadium per club, 116 in total. And cost per club per year of financing will be around 53 million euros. So in this chart here, it shows by kind of 2042, maybe 43, Inter and Milan on this project will be debt free, and the interest payments will also reduce, and then ultimately by 2033 or 34, this is when Inter and Milan will actually become be making a profit from this endeavor. So it will take time. Even after first few years of the stadium being open, it won't be a net positive yet, but this is something of a long-term project that will, of course, benefit Inter and Milan. Of course, it would benefit them a lot more if they owned it by themselves, like Juve do, like most big team or any big team should do. But also at the same time, halving the costs, the building cost and the financing cost also helps to break even quicker. So those are the benefits broken down. In terms of the financing, of course, major US institutions are the ones that are in pole position to provide the credit lines for the new stadium: Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, etc., etc. So as it says here, Bernhard, it says 1.3. Here it says maybe even 1.5 billion. And so the financing will be between 1 and 1.2 billion. And how it works, it will be 50-50 in terms of Inter and Milan will create a special purpose vehicle, which is like a finance bro way of saying a separate company under the current clubs, that works just almost as a separate company, to just serve for this stadium. Yeah, they give an example of JP Morgan, who financed the renovation of the Santiago Bernabeu, um, JP Morgan and Bank of America. What could it look like? So this is also something interesting. So this NSS Sports put together all the San Siro stadiums that never materialized over the years. If you followed Inter and Milan, you've seen many projects, that cool looking ideas, that never actually materialized. These kind of Wakanda looking like projects. So this was the Cathedral project, if I remember correctly. This was the one a few years back that people got excited about, that was approved and agreed by both clubs. Well, obviously nothing ever happened after that. There was also this joint project, but that also never happened. And then there was, even going back to the Massimo Moratti era, Boeri, the architects back then, created this Bosco Stadium, created on the concept of the vertical forest, which is, if you've been to Milano, you might have seen those residential flats that are built with this kind of forest design. This would have been quite cool to keep in line with kind of the Milan vibe and design, a bit unique. My wish is just that I hope it's just not a soulless oval toilet bowl design that's just, it looks nice and clean but has no real, artistic meaning to it. Or at least I hope there's an ode to the old San Siro in terms of the towers or the circular stairs, something a bit more unique to it. I hope it's just not, just a generic new stadium that we see. The cathedral design that was approved a few years back, I did like that, but I don't see this being, they already said there's going to be oval rather than rectangular, so I guess this is not happening for sure. But yeah, 71,000 seater stadium with state-of-the-art facilities. That is what both Inter and Milan need at the end of the day. Yes, I would have liked it to be Inter on their own. Ideally, I would have liked it to remain at the current stadium, renovated, make the San Siro renovated. They did look into that. There was some feasibility studies done on this. I think the company that is doing the whole Rome underground tube design, or the metro for Rome, I forgot the company's name off the top of my head now. They were looking into the feasibility of renovating San Siro, but I think the costs and the timeline needed, and the teams would have to move to a separate stadium, both of them. I think that in the end hasn't ended up working. So it looks like this is what we're moving ahead with. But as I said at the beginning, this is 1% progress for me. It's good news, historic news, but now the teams need to do more paperwork, more red tape, more bureaucracy, and put some money down, buy the actual property, and then move forward. So let's keep up to date in the coming months and years, probably, or decades, maybe even, on this news, and I'll keep you up to date. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I tried to break it down as easily as possible. Hope I helped you. Ciao ragazzi, always, Forza Inter.